right, here we are again. Another chapter of Zach Blue and the Great Space Chase. Falcon Wing. This is volume 1 of the series. I'm reading volume 1 and 2 online for you again, chapter by chapter, because volume 3 will be out in a little less than a month. We're already having the cover designed. So we'll pick it up in chapter 7. Here we go. The universe lay before them. It's kind of funny, really, but Zach had never given much thought to what would come next. Actually, he'd given it no thought at all. His entire focus had been to escape Earth and never come back, but he'd made no plans at all about where to go and what to do. For the time being, they were intent on getting space, and a lot of it, between them and their pursuers. From time to time, Zach spoke to the command and watched as a holographic mirror appeared in front of him. He would turn his head slightly to the left and stare at the thin, snow-white streak that now ran down the side of his curly blonde head. It was about the width of a pencil and ran from his temple toward the back of his head. That quaver ray came about an eighth of an inch from killing him. Falcon Wing was at top speed, and Zach planned on keeping her there as long as possible. He'd also cloaked the ship, masked the trail, and was flying an unorthodox course. He and the ship had plotted and were taking a trail that led through event horizons, around asteroid belts, incredibly close to supernovas, anything and everything to throw off pursuit, or at least to slow it down. He had no idea why he was being chased, but it didn't really matter. The universe is incomprehensibly huge. No one could exhaust it in 1,000 lifetimes, and if he had to, he would go to the very ends of it to avoid ever seeing Earth again. Did they want a great space chase? Fine. He would give it to them. It did gnaw at him, though. Why were they chasing him? Why had Prime Minister Manson said he would see him again? Any ordinary fugitive would not have cared, but Zach did care because he was very far from ordinary. His genius brain could not lightly lay aside a riddle wrapped in an enigma like that. He knew that, even while he was physically running as far away from it as he could, his brain would be tinkering with it, toying with it, trying to unravel it. In the meantime, Zach and Darragon had something very precious, a massive head start. Zach knew that it would take the pursuit days to get around the expulsion, and by that time the trail would have dissipated and spread so far and wide as to be almost impossible to follow. Yes, they would chase him. Yes, they would have to have every known outpost in the universe on alert for him. No, even with all of their resources, he would not be easy to catch with that big of a lead on them. Especially not if we can find some place to hole up for a while and let the trail go completely cold on them. Lena? Sorry, just thinking out loud. There are billions and billions of habitable planets and moons out there. If we can get to one and shut down for a while, the waves of the universe will wipe out any trace of our passing, just like waves lapping up onto a beach to wash away footprints. D, we need to hide Falcon Wing, and us for that matter, for a while. Well, a really wise philosopher from the 20th century used to talk about being intentionally random. In this case, I think that's the wisest thing we can do. Planetary Command will be running probability scenarios to determine where we will go. But if we remove all symmetry and logic from the equation, they will, by being rational, send themselves on a wild goose chase because of our irrationality. The Tark, bewildered, shook his head and put his hands on the side of his face. Trying to follow Zach Blue's logic was like trying to predict the path of a rabid earth squirrel that had been injected with sugar. With a wave of the hand, Zach yanked a 4D hologram of the Beta Quadrant into view, and it filled the entire bridge of the ship. All sight of seats and control panels disappeared, and it was as if Zach and Darragon were giants standing in the middle of space. Suddenly, with another wave of his hand, all of the stars and non-habitable planets and moons were gone. That still left billions of little dots of lights. One more wave of the hand, and everything started spinning. Darragon had trouble standing up. Both of his stomachs were doing flips. Somehow, though, Zach was standing like a statue in the middle of it all, face tilted upward, arms outstretched, laughing with excitement. "Pick one, D! Pick any of them!" But Darragon was in no shape to pick anything. This time, he was the one on the floor throwing up. Zach laughed again, practically intoxicated by the size and scope and beauty of the heavenly bodies whizzing around him in such pattern and perfection. Faster it all came, faster, faster, till all the lights were practically blending and blurring together. Then finally, Zach pointed and shouted one word, "There!" And everything came to a stop. Slowly, the lights of the cabin reappeared, and all of the planets and moons faded from view except the one that Zach now held in his outstretched right hand. Darragon was disintegrating the second mess for the day, and this time was wiping his own face with a wet rag. What do you know about Veleronis 4? Zach asked as he turned the holographic sphere over and back in his hand. Dargon just looked up at him and shook his head, the universal sign for nothing, nothing at all. Excellent. Neither do I. No known human foot or Earth probe has ever been there, and it's so far off the beaten path that it would take a crazy man to ever go there. It's perfect. Falcon wing. Set a course. Top speed. D. Kick back and relax. Between the time we can be at warp speed and the times we'll have to let Falcon wing slow and cool, we have 2 months to rest, eat, and play Caliball. Veleronis 4, here we come. Let's hope you're hospitable, and let's hope that Prime Minister Manson gets a bad case of the screaming jeebies trying to figure out where we've gone. That was Chapter 7 of Falcon Wing. Zach Blue and the Great Space Chase. We'll see you next time.